Hello everyone. In this video, I will talk about the transformation of variables or generation of new variables. So I'm importing the data set in first place by using the same method that I explained in the earlier video. So for the simplicity, I'm only keeping few variables in the data set and rest of the variables will be dropped. So I'm using the keep function. So I'm keeping bank, year, total assets, equity, and the net income variables. And you can see here that when I executed this function, rest of the variables were dropped. Now let's suppose we want to calculate return on assets, and we know that the formula of on assets is net income divided by total assets. So I will use the generate function in Stata. I will type generate, and then I will define the name of my variable, that is ROA, and ROA is equal to net income divided by total assets. So here I have written the same formula that I know from my finance knowledge, that ROA is equal to net income over total assets. Alternatively, you can also use the short form of generate, that is gen, to generate new variables, and it will also work perfectly. So I have calculated return on equity by using the gen function, gen ROE, and this is equal to net income divided by equity. I can also perform the subtraction or addition function as well. For instance, if I need to calculate liabilities, I know that liabilities are equal to total assets minus equity. So I have used the same formula here. Gen lib is the name of the new variable that will be created, and total assets minus equity. Let's execute this function. So I have executed this function. You can see a new variable ROA is created here. Similarly, if I execute these two lines, you will see that two new variables ROE and lib are also calculated. A very similar function to gen is egen function, but egen function is a specialized function for the generation of some complex variables. For instance, if I want to calculate the mean of total assets for the entire data set, and I want a new variable that should have the mean value of the total asset of entire data set, I will use this egen function. So I used egen, named the new variable, that is average underscore ta, and is equal to mean brackets ta, and I already has the variable of ta, but a new variable with the name of average underscore ta will be created by executing this function. Now remember one thing, that Stata has requirements with respect to the names of the variable. So when we are defining the name of variable, Stata will not accept dot or dash in the names of the variables or spaces in the variables. So we should be very careful while defining the name of the variable. We can also combine the egen with the by sort function. By sort function means that the data will be sorted with respect to a certain variable. For instance, I want to sort the data with respect to bank, and I want to calculate the mean of total assets for each of the banks separately. Then to achieve this objective, I will use this by sort bank colon egen, then define the name of the new variable that you want to create. So I have written average underscore bank ta, and then you need to define that which variable you are going to use to calculate the mean. So I'm calculating the mean of total assets. Now let me execute this function, and you will see that a new variable is created here at the end, average bank ta. You can also see it in the data editor. So here is the average bank ta. So if you look at the variables that we created earlier, that was average ta. So we can see the same value for all the banks in each year, because this value was created for the entire data set. But the second variable in we have calculated the mean value for each of the banks separately. That's why we see that this value is same for AB and Amro Bank, but when we took the next bank, the value was changed, and this goes on. Similarly, if we want to calculate the total of total assets, we can use either the total function or the sum function, and it will provide us the total value of total assets in a particular period for each bank separately. We can use egen to calculate the median, or we can also calculate the row total as well. If you have some values, some variables, and you want to add the rows, for instance, if I want to add, if I don't know the value of total assets and I have the value of equity and liability, now I know that equity plus liability is equal to total assets. So then I will use egen total assets is equal to row total. So row total is the function that I'm using from this egen command, and then in bracket I'm defining the variables which I want to add. So equity and liability are the two variables. This function is very useful when we have lot of variables for which we want to calculate the row totals. So if I calculate this, you will see that a new variable total asset is created. In order to verify, you can see that this variable is exactly equal to the variable of TA, that is also total assets. In order to know more about either egen function, you can use help egen, and it will open a window providing you the information about the usage of this egen function. A very useful function along with gen and egen is the replace function. So replace function is used when we want to replace certain values in a particular variable. For instance, if I want to replace the values in equity with the log of equity, then I will define that replace equity equal to log of equity. So now you see equity, the value of equities. Please note down the values of equity. And when I will execute this function, now you can see that the values of equity are changed with the log of equity. Similarly, if I want to show the total assets in thousands, so I will divide total assets with 1000. I will use again the replace function, replace TA is equal to TA with thousands. And now you can see that total assets values are shown in thousands. I hope you have got the familiarity with the function gen, egen, and replace in this video. Thank you very much for watching.